You know, leading up to the 1.19 update, Minecraft played around some very obvious hints and clues leading to the fact that this thingy could actually be a portal. But when the update came out, there was no portal to be found. How could they? I know this is disappointing, so that's why I decided to code this entire dimension myself using no mods, with terrain generation, structures, and even a boss battle. But 7 days ago, all this didn't exist. So to start off, first I need to find a way to activate the portal. Originally, what most people thought on how to open it was using flint and steel, but the thing is, I find that kinda boring. So instead, to activate it, you have to grab a bunch of scope and then fill in the portal frame. Once you're done placing all the scope, the entire portal should open up into glass panes. That's because I need to make a texture pack. Okay, there, now it should look pretty good. Oh my god, that's doo-doo. Okay, I get it. It looks bad. Look, I fixed it. It's okay. It actually looks kind of pretty. Anyways, I made it so whenever you walk into the portal, you get teleported to a set spot in the end. How this works is because glass panes are only like 20% of a block. So if you get in the same block as a light blue glass pane, the command block realizes, oh, you're sharing land with it. And then it teleports you into the picked coordinate in the end dimension, which I'll be using as the template. But with that, it was the close for day 1. I'm sorry, that portal texture pack took far longer than you would think. On day 2, I want to work on the actual terrain generation. But first, I need to clean up the end and all the endy things. So I set up a command block that basically removes all the blocks around me wherever I fly to. So then I just destroyed the entire end island. Isn't that satisfying? I went back to the overworld and I began playing around with the place command because I want the portal structure to spawn where I spawn into the dimension, if that makes any sense. And to give it a shot, I hopped through the portal and the structure spawned right on me. But enough delaying it, I need to get started on the terrain generation. So I went to a separate world and tested out ways I could possibly generate the terrain. And how I thought of doing this was using bats with special tags. And as the bats move, the terrain generates around them. So I began placing bats and seeing how much scope I should generate around them. And once I got done making all the dimensions, I made this giant structure in the sky to help me map out where each bat should spawn. And being super scared, I started my first test. The idea was the bats would spawn and then be teleported to the assigned spot every so often. But this looked terrible. So my next idea that wasn't complete garbage was basically have the bats spawn every second and then die and then a new batch will spawn. I set it up so the bats won't spawn unless there's chunks that needs to be loaded. And after upping their spawn rates, the terrain generation actually started looking pretty good. But when I flew back to make some adjustments, a chunk spawned right over the command blocks. And because my mic was on, you get this beautiful auditory rage. I don't think I need to explain myself when I say this is a terrible end to day 2. On day 3, I was scared to get back to terrain generation, as my friends were questioning how things were going. I made a new test road and began rewriting all the command blocks and made them better. I turned the bats silent, invisible, and invincible, so now they're just creatures of the terrain. And now when you walk, it actually generates around you pretty well, and it even looks like it's growing, but we're just gonna pretend that's a feature. I then felt safe enough to bring all the command blocks into the actual world using the saved inventory feature. And for now, I'm just gonna put all the command blocks in the portal frame where no one will ever find them. As I booted up the terrain generation, no surprise it didn't work because my idiot brain screwed up the redstone. After I fixed it, I basically just ran around and generated a bunch of terrain. I also made it so as you walk, a layer of bedrock spawns and cleans the bottom of the world. And I did this for reasons I'll explain tomorrow. As I looked around this darkened land, I realized, damn, this place is bland. So underneath the bedrock, I began building a few schematics for decorations that can naturally spawn. I also made these 2 quirky little builds, which I'll explain in a bit. But first, let me tell you how I'm going to generate them. I only want these structures to spawn when the map is generating. So what I did is I made it so every so often it checks if there's an active bat generating land. And if so, it summons a falling block of sand. This falling sand block is the server's way of checking on how high the terrain is. Once the sand block reaches near the ground, it clones up one of the set structures up to the sand block and then places the structure. So with that, I could run around and a bunch of little gems and statues will spawn too. But now it's time to do the same with the 2 special structures. I wanted these to be a bit rare, so I made the timer fatter. So eventually when this thing generates, if you walk up to it and hop onto this weird crystal block, it teleports you all the way back to home so you never get lost. And the other structure, when you walk into it, it literally does the same thing. Look, I just wanted variety. I still wasn't happy with this generation though. So to spice it up, I made it so every so often the bats sprinkle around prismarine, deep slate, and water. I also sped up the bats to make the terrain a lot smoother. And every so often, the bats move hecka fast, which generates mountain terrain. So now I think it's safe to say that world generation is finally done. But now it's time to move on to one of the coolest and most important structures of this entire dimension. Tomorrow. I'm really tired. Day 5. I know this has nothing to do with the video, but the past few nights, a Skulk world generation has been appearing in my dreams. Maybe I've been working a little bit too hard. Huh. Anyways, I began building a giant skulk and bone mountain underneath the bedrock, where if you jump into it, you get greeted with the room with the Shrieker, which will be important later. And because I want this structure to be super rare, I set up a crazy long timer, and then immediately had to destroy it because my dumb head put half the repeaters facing the wrong way. And because the structure is so big, I had to set up a little generation verification thing, which checks if it's safe to generate. So whenever the timer goes off, it checks north, east, south, or west to see if there's a non-generated chunk. And if it's just empty void, what it does is it clones over the giant mountain over to that spot, and it actually fits with the environment pretty well. So if you ever find this giant structure in the distance, when you climb up it, you'll be able to hop in and you'll be greeted with a singular Shrieker. But it's not a normal Shrieker, it's creaky. But why, you may ask? I'll tell you why tomorrow. I'm going to bed. Day 6. So this is really cool. If you grab the new disc 5 and throw it on top of the Shrieker, I made this command block realize when it's on top and the disc gets sucked in. It shoots a giant beam up into the sky and a boss bar appears. As you wonder what the heck just happened, you run outside in panic through this very convenient exit and look up to what could possibly be the most horrific sight ever. A fat slime. What, is that not exciting enough for you? Maybe if I add some suspense noises? Still no? Okay, whatever. Let me explain myself. Slimes are a very cool mob for 3 reasons. Reason 1. With this special command, you can make slimes really big, which is kind of important when making a boss, is big. Reason 2. If you give a big Papa Slime a custom tag, then eventually when it dies, its little baby gremlins won't have that tag, which is a great way to tell if it dies or not. Reason 3. And now, in my opinion, the most important reason. Look how cute it is. Oh, it's so adorable. Look at that face. Okay, let's get started by removing that ugly beast of a face with the texture pack, which turns the slime into a giant spooky skulk mouth thingy. And when I bring it into the actual world, it doesn't even look that bad. Okay, so fine, I realized it drops a bunch of these ugly slime turd particles. So now I gotta go back into the texture pack and fix that. Ah! Okay, so now we got the Scourger, and what it does is it tries jumping at you and tries catching you with its mouth. And when it does that, you're basically dead. So in order to fight it safely, you have to use a bow. But to make this fight even more annoying, I made the Scourger spawn a bunch of these little skulls, which move super fast around like little heat-seeking missiles, and when they do get you, they make a small explosion. How I made this mob is by disguising an invisible endermite under a bunch of falling blocks. Or in other words, you know how sand falls when there's nothing underneath it? Well, I basically made that animation constantly happen over the endermite, but with skulk sensors instead. And after feeding it some crack and making it move super fast, I also made it so you can't actually stab them. So the only normal way to kill them is by using lava, which one-shots them. And if that wasn't annoying enough, I made the Scourger have a special attack where it launches itself into the air and slams down, which basically just kills you. And when it does this, it summons a bunch of particles, because that's how you know it's professional. And after making it so when it dies, it summons all the little slimes, which aren't supposed to be there, into the void. It also plays a sound. Wow, what a cool boss. I wonder how many command blocks that took. Day 7. Today is the final day, so I gotta chop. Starting off, I need to make some kind of drop when the Scourger dies. So the first thing I thought of is some sort of weapon. Weapon. Wrecking ball. Yeah. For that, I need some sort of projectile and a way to tell if it hits the ground. So I decided to go with the experience bottle. I did this because when the experience bottle hits the ground, it drops a bunch of these XP nuglets, which I can use. So I retextured the XP bottle to look like a wrecking ball. But because the entity for the wrecking ball XP thingy dies to make the orbs, I need a way to track both entities. So what I did is I made an invisible armor stand fall around the experience bottle when thrown. And when this armor stand detects that there's XP orbs around itself, it starts a sequence where Slash throws all the blocks around it into air, but also make sure to drop all the blocks that were broken. And then to clean up, it kills all the XP around itself, redrops the wrecking ball item, and then kills the armor stand. And now we're left with the super satisfying item. Although you can use this weapon to destroy your friend's house, or maybe even use it to farm materials like sand, stone, and wood. But the real cool thing about it is it can literally destroy anyone. Oh, did you not expect a wrecking ball to be able to hurt someone? Well, it does. It hurts them all over, dealing 6 hearts of damage regardless of what armor you wear. But be careful when using it in PvP, because if your opponent survives, they could just... And now that I got that out of the way, I realized when I first started, I put all the world generation command blocks inside the ceiling of the portal, so I'm just going to fix that. I have no clue what I was thinking. Anyways, are we done? I mean, I created a custom working portal, I made custom terrain generation with custom goofy structures, and added a giant bone mound which spawns a giant custom boss with custom attacks. Created a custom weapon when it drops. Said custom enough times that even I'm getting annoyed, but there's still one last thing I need to do before I finish off this dimension. Oh yeah, a way out. Yeah, ease. Anyways, if you would like to play this world, I posted the world download link along with the texture pack link in the announcements channel in my Discord. Links in description. But before you play, I have to give you a slight heads up that you might find some very cursed things in this world from me experimenting. Ignore those. Also, if you enjoyed this video, it would be rather ravishing if you could subscribe. Please? Pretty please? Are you at full HP?
Yep, I'm good.
Yeah.
What the? Excuse me. You kinda...
The real reason I don't upload.